and welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. We have a lot going today, but before we get into any of it, as always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who was alive when they first discovered Antarctica in 1820, my dad, Tim. Although, before you respond, there is a new conspiracy theory I am a huge fan of.
And that is...
Riddle me this, Batman. Antarctica was discovered in January of 1820. Correct?
No.
Yes.
Magellan had to have seen
Antarctica was discovered in January of 1820.
I'm not buying that.
Yet, there are maps that date back to the 1500s that had not only Antarctica listed, they had real-life, drawn-out maps of Antarctica, like accurate dimensions of Antarctica for that time on world maps as early as the 1500s, if not before.
Okay.
Ancient civilization.
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Yeah. He went nowhere near Antarctica.
No, but Magellan did when he went around the Cape Horn, which is the bottom of South America.
Yeah.
It's like 50 miles from Antarctica.
Well, and at that point, it would have been a lot closer. I mean, Antarctica and the tip of South America, at one point, it was figured out that it was as close as the Bering Strait is between Alaska and Russia.
And Australia used to be a part of Antarctica.
That's right. I know what you're talking
about. It went away. It
didn't break off from Antarctica. It broke off. Antarctica was never a part of it.
Antarctica used to be inhabitable, what I saw. So, documentary on it.
That I don't know. I just saw maps of the 1500s with Antarctica, and that led me down an amazing wormhole because I knew Antarctica had been discovered in the 1800s.
I thought that's when they went to find the South Pole, and I thought Magellan actually discovered Antarctica.
They had no idea Antarctica was there. They saw it on maps, but they had no idea that it was actually there. It is claimed to have been discovered in January of 1820 for the very first time.
I don't buy that.
I don't either.
I just don't. Sorry.
I agree.
Okay.
We're on the same page.
So
you would know. You were there. I don't know why you're debating me. You were there for the announcement that it had been discovered.
Wasn't there. Sorry. Wasn't. Would I like to go to Antarctica? Yes, I would. I think it'd be very cool.
No interest in going to Antarctica.
Oh, I do. I think it'd be very cool to go and explore and just see it.
You don't like it when it gets cold in Wisconsin.
Well, I go in the Antarctic summer.
There is no such thing.
Anyways. So I saw an article that you'll appreciate.
Okay, I'm in.
It was last week because I forgot to bring it up on last week's show.
Okay.
A Paul Molitor rookie card. And his rookie card, I think, had him on it. Might have had Wade Boggs.
Right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
That card exists around here somewhere.
Well, it's sold for $55,000, and I know it's at least one, maybe two, are sitting in boxes back.
Well, we need to go through those boxes again.
We need to get them graded.
We do need to get them graded.
But if
I know there's PS10s because I've heard that about Pokemon cards. My oldest son is very excited to tell me about those. I don't know what that means.
It's perfect.
Oh.
You know, sometimes when you cut a card, they cut it too close to the edge, so one side has more of a border than the other side. That's all part of this. All I know...
You and Grayson need to have more conversations about this because I don't know.
All I know is back in a Foot Locker, I bought them and they got boxed up and they're back there. They were nothing more than that.
That's awesome. See, when I was a kid, like trading cards were a thing, but it wasn't the collectibles that it is now. It's like I have an autograph of Brett Favre. Like it didn't matter what it looked like. That was an autograph of Brett Favre. Now it
so much
makes a huge difference.
So much fraud. I mean, when I was a kid, baseball cards used to be put in bike spokes, or we played penny baseball with them.
So many cards ruined.
Oh yeah,
that's why all those cards are worth so much money, because you guys were dumb and destroyed most of those cards. It's like the original Detective Comics 27 with Batman in it. The reason, if you can find one with a cover on it, do you know how much that's worth?
Yeah, a lot.
Because the pharmacist ran a scam on the comic book companies, because if they didn't sell, you'd rip off the cover, send them back, they give you their money back. So if they ever sold a comic book, they just ripped off the cover, sent it back, and got their money back, got paid twice.
Your grandfather told me that years ago. He had all that. He loved comics.
Don't tell me that.
Well,
Don't tell me that.
I'll tell you something worse. Your uncles, your Uncle Mark and your Uncle Bill, loved baseball, just like I do.
Yeah.
And they had baseball cards from the 50s. My mother, may she rest in peace,
You've told me this.
not for this, said, well, I think I threw them out. And we scoured the attic of our old house on Burn Street in Portage, Wisconsin. Tore it apart. I insulation dived to try to find something. Never found them.
Yeah, they were
Never
gone.
found. You know how much they had them all, because that's where all their allowance, all the money they earned. Where I bought comic books back in the 70s, they bought baseball cards. They had Mantle. They had the original Aaron. They had them all. I wanted to find them after he was gone, because he'd never know they existed.
Right. Well, again, that is why, though, they're worth so much money now, because they were just a fun collection thing you guys did back in the day.
Nobody.
And now they're all collectibles. Now the cards that are coming out have like pieces of jerseys on them, and they make one specifically. It's crazy.
Parents back in that day thought they were nothing but a nuisance. And
yeah, I mean, they were.
No, baseball cards are a art form in themselves. They were never a nuisance. My mother tried to pull that on me with my baseball cards.
I learned the collectible lesson with Beanie Babies. These things are worth as much as people are willing to pay for them.
That's true, but the baseball cards I started collecting, I had them in Foot Lockers. They were never left out all around. Mom said, I'm going through and I'm getting rid of that. I said, I will cut your arm off if you throw them away. My dad had a talk with me later that night. He goes, you told your mother you'd cut her arm off? I said, Dad, she was going to throw away my baseball cards. Oh, she didn't tell me that.
Leaving stuff out. I mean,
there was nothing out. No, I was a neat freak about my baseball cards. They got put away. They were all stored.
That's all that matters. The boys collect Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
they love Pokemon, which is great. I've told them from the word go, if I find them laying on the floor, I don't care if I know that thing's worth money or not. If you don't care about it, I don't care about it, and it's going in the garbage. And I tell you what, they left it out once and saw me with it. It was some really good card. I don't know. It looked cool. But I knew if they saw me with it heading towards the garbage, which they did, they yelled, they screamed. Guess what's not on the ground anymore?
That's
ever.
Right.
They are in their little special places. They are in their protective cases because I will throw them away.
Beanie Babies. We had them all.
Everybody.
Your brother loved them.
Yeah, everybody did.
And we kept the tags on them. We had them all.
Everybody did.
And then the market dropped out of them. The market is back because everybody threw. For those original ones, it's back because everybody threw them away.
It shocks me what people pay for in collectibles. Like there's these little things called unicornos. You've probably seen them because the Crystal and the boys like to get them. It's a little vinyl unicorn figurine. And they make a bunch of different ones. There's a bunch of different series. People are paying $5,000 for some of these. I'm like, what are you doing?
So all I know is if you're one of our listeners, watchers, and you know anything about baseball cards, let me know because I literally have every Topps baseball card from 1968 through about 2000. Bought them every year.
Yeah.
Even when I had to.
Nice hands.
Thank you. Even when I had to buy dozens of sets to get the set, I got the set.
Yeah. I remember.
I'm gonna have to
you bought them when I was a kid all the time.
I know I did.
Were those your glasses that you just dropped?
Yeah. And I never let you touch them, though.
I was not allowed to touch them, which is probably why I don't understand the nostalgia behind them, because I was never allowed to play with baseball cards. I was never allowed to look at baseball cards.
Oh,
they're just like, you're
true.
there, you collect your own.
We looked at all of them. I just didn't let you get your grubby little paws and ruin them.
No lie, guys. Gloves. For touching these baseballs.
With the 1968 and the 1932 Babe Ruth card, yes, I made you use gloves.
gloves. There's a Mickey Mantle back there, too. I remember seeing it once.
I've got Mantle. I've got 19...
I don't know if it's a special card, but I know Mantle's there.
I've got a 1929 and a 1932 Babe Ruth card.
Yeah, authenticated.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the oldest ones I've got.
Right.
Still looking for the elusive
still don't get
Honus
Wagner.
card.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
You had to be in Pittsburgh buying packs of cigarettes to even have a chance at that. It was a cigarette wrapper.
I guarantee you there's still some that exist in somebody's attic, someplace
Maybe.
in rural United States.
I laugh when people talk about the Honus Wagner card because they're like, well, it's a card. I'm like, it's a wrapper of a cigarette
No,
pack.
it's an actual card that
It was in the cigarette
It was
pack.
in the cigarette wrap. Yeah.
Like, it's no different than that's in the cigarettes now. It's just a card you pull out. That's
Right.
all it was. It was a promotion only in Pittsburgh. And 90% of those crumple, gone.
If I could time travel, I'm in Pittsburgh.
If
That's
I
where
can
I'm
time
going.
travel, I only need to go back 24 hours, and that is 24 hours back after $1 billion lottery is drawn. Then I'll go back with the numbers.
Did you hear not this last one, not the Mega Bucks that was just one.
Yeah.
The Mega Millions, whatever it is. The last big Powerball that was won, that was 1 point whatever billion, the person still hasn't come forward.
Ooh.
In California, someplace. They've got 1 year.
So they only have 3 months.
No, they've got 1 year.
The 1 year?
So it's still time. And honestly,
Hopefully they come forward. Maybe they're trying to get their ducks in a row, being smart about it.
what I would do.
Yeah. I'd sprint to it right away because my
wouldn't.
ADD brain would lose that. Do you know how much I would freak out? Because I set something down and instantly forget where it is. Do you know how much I'd freak out about having that card in my the lottery numbers in my presence? I need to get those handed in as quickly as possible because I will lose it. That's why I'm not allowed to win the lottery. I would lose the ticket.
You don't do that until you've seen an accountant. You find the richest person you know who has lawyers, and you set up all the trust accounts and everything with the money. You don't just go and buy stuff.
Well, you don't go buy stuff, but I would get that money in my account before I lost the Powerball numbers or Mega Millions or whatever.
I would try to hide as much of that as possibly can.
Teach their own.
Just the way I am. But I would have that lottery ticket on my person.
The anxiety I would have at winning the lottery would be insane.
Somebody said, would you put it in a safety deposit box at a bank? I said no, because I'd be worried that the bank would get held up or burned down.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that. That would be my anxiety. I wouldn't sleep.
I wouldn't sleep till it was turned in.
Anyways.
It'd be a whole different world, man. If you've won the lottery before, let us know how bad that anxiety was holding on to that ticket. Because, man, I couldn't have even been Charlie back in the day because I'd be afraid that Grandpa Joe would have taken my golden ticket and ran away because he was the villain of that movie. Moving on, we're going to talk baseball for a second.
We haven't gone off on the Grandpa Joe for at least 5 or 6 episodes.
Everybody knows.
Very well.
I have a shirt being made saying Grandpa Joe is the real villain. I will wear it on the show soon.
Of course you would.
He was. It's not my problem.
Okay.
He was.
Reel it in.
Reel it in.
AD.
So I do want to talk baseball for a second because the elections happened for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Congratulations to Fred McGriff.
Fred McGriff that was a while ago though. Fred McGriff got
I know,
in,
but I'm just happy he got
by
in.
the Veterans Committee, and I am too. Former Cub,
Prime Dog. I think he was the current day Ron Santo, greatest player not to be in the Hall.
He was getting there.
He was
getting there. I think honestly that's somebody who should have gotten in this year, which is Todd Helton. He did not get in this year. It bothers me a lot because Todd Helton passed the eye test. Todd Helton you saw and you said that's a Hall of Fame player. And then all of a sudden, people figured out that Colorado's thinner air helps that ball travel a little bit farther.
They knew that from the day
It was not publicly known because I remember when the story started to shift.
There.
I know, but I remember in baseball when the story started to shift on Todd Helton because Todd Helton was known as one of the best players of the steroid era, not using steroids. People raved about Todd Helton, and then all of a sudden, one writer came out and said, well, look at his numbers in Colorado versus on the road. And all of a sudden, he's not a Hall of Famer anymore.
And I don't buy that because most people hit better in their home park than they do on the road.
Always. But because it was in Colorado, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now if he played for any other team in Major League Baseball. And that's not fair to the Rockies because you're just saying nobody that plays for the Rockies is ever going to get in the Hall of Fame if they hit home runs. You're clearly pointing that out, which is ridiculous for Colorado Rockies fans because they should have representation in the Hall of Fame. It's extremely hard to pitch in Colorado, but you shouldn't be able to take you just shouldn't take that away from players. He passed the eye test. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Hold that thought. Is it the fault of the Rockies for not moving the fences back to accommodate for the higher altitude?
It was never a thing. You can't blame the Rockies for it not being a thing.
Of course I can.
No, you
can't.
They
built a bandbox.
They did.
They knew that ball was going to fly
So did New York. Are you telling me that I should be impressed with the amount of home runs Babe Ruth hit as a left-hander when that porch to left field is so short?
Yes, because he was the greatest home run hitter until Henry Aaron passed.
How many did he hit to the 316 mark on a short fence in Yankee Stadium?
I can't argue with it because
a lot.
They used to count balls that bounced over instead of ground root doubles. They were home runs.
It was a dead ball era. Those stats don't count.
They do.
Don't. But you don't hold it against the Yankees who hit either pull balls or hit to left field. You shouldn't be hold it against the Rockies who have a long fence. It's 340 is the most shallow part of that, and it's 415 deep to center. Like that's a long shot no matter where you are. And what is Fenway, 315? So you're telling me if you hit a moon ball at 315, it's gone?
There's also a huge fence that they have to clear in Fenway.
They do. It's still shorter, though. Yeah. How many people hit moon balls? Like, it happens.
Getting away from that. And by the way, while you're there, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and leave a comment or two. We'd love to hear from you. Actually,
that was well done.
Right. Thank you.
That was well done. That was impressive. That was your first one.
That was the first one I actually nailed without having to look at you and go, fix this.
Yeah, exactly. Todd Helton, though, should be in the Hall of Fame. He actually dropped from the year before. It's really starting to bother me because, again, if you're in baseball, and this is the issue I have with baseball, the righteous pieces of garbage that think they should be able to run this game better than anybody else.
You mean the baseball writers? And I have a big problem with that because the baseball writers are the ones, they are the gods of baseball that vote everybody in.
They're righteous assholes that think they know better than the rest of the world.
Who should be voting? Number one,
you should have a Hall of Fame committee.
No, what they should have, if you're going to use writers and they should use reporters, Bob Uecker should be able to vote on Hall of Fame.
I agree.
He's seen everybody.
Yep.
All play-by-play people should have a vote. They see these players more than a freaking sports writer.
But instead, you have people that write for the Chicago Tribune and the Milwaukee Sentinel getting to vote on the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Who never see anybody but the people in their own league unless, now
and you're taking it away. You're not looking at the good of the game. It's again why baseball fails, because you're not looking at the good of the game. And for the good of the game, Todd Helton should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, one player did get in that personally I don't think passed the eye test, which is Scott Rowland. Good third baseman. I grew up watching him play. I always liked watching him play. And I know you're going to rattle off a bunch of stats that are going to prove me wrong. But from an eye test perspective, and that's the problem I have too.
He's a nice player.
Because you're going to do what baseball writers do, and you're going to use these stupid stats rather than passing the eye test.
I will never use WAR. I think it's the stupidest stat ever invented.
Because it depends who you replace.
It's Billy Ball. I don't like it. But I will say this. Rowland hit 316 home runs, only one behind George Brett. So that makes him 6th all-time. 517 doubles. He scored 1,200 runs. He has over 2,000 hits, and he played for 16 years. He's got
Hall of Fame
1,287 RBIs, which is, because that's a big one for me. That's 7th all time.
He's a Hall of Fame player. I have no doubt Scott Rowland's a Hall of Fame player. I agree with the fact that he should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm obviously biased because Ron Santo didn't get in the Hall of Fame, and he was the best player at his position for how long?
For a decade.
And this is the problem I have, where I think football's different. I think football has it right, because baseball writers count a lot all-star games, and they shouldn't be. Those are fan voted. Correct. All-star games shouldn't count towards anything. In the same way, Pro Bowls don't count towards anything for football players, nor should they.
The all-pro
all-pro votes do count.
Right.
And baseball needs to come up with an end-of-the-year award, which is an all-pro award, because now you're really seeing who is the best player at that position that year.
They do have that. They've got Golden Glove.
Golden Glove, which is
silver bat.
Correct. So who's the best hitter at their position? Who's the best fielder at their position? I don't want to know that. I want to know who the league voted as the best all-around player at each position.
I think that would be great. I no
because
argument.
Fielding and hitting are two different things. You can have somebody who wins a Golden Glove who's not the best third baseman that year overall. You can have a Silver Slugger award who was terrible at defense, but had a 303 average and hit a ton of home runs. Right? And vice versa, to make the point more on the Golden Glove, you can be the best fielder in the game, but you hit 123.
Very true.
So who is the best all-around player at that position? And that's where baseball needs to come up with something, and this will be taken more seriously. Because all-pro is held, like, how many all-pros did you have? How many years were you the best player at your position?
Because it's the worst all-star game of all time, to the point where they've gotten rid of it. But that being said, we love talking about baseball, but we know people who watch the show don't. So we're going to move it back to football.
I do want to talk baseball, though, because I need to do one more thing on baseball here, and then I promise we'll move on. Because
I tried, folks.
another thing...
I love baseball, but I know you don't.
I'm a huge baseball fan, and I'm making good points here. Because baseball needs to be... The problem... You know what the problem is, though? I love baseball. The fact that you didn't say goose at the end of that bothers me, by the way. Talk to me, goose. You had a chance for a Top Gun reference, and you missed it. I'm disappointed.
Who sits behind Maverick?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Anyway, any whatever you want to say. I love baseball. I hate what baseball has become. And baseball makes me so angry. And it's why people don't give a shit about baseball anymore. Let's be honest. People don't care about baseball anymore because it's boring and it sucks. It's not fun to watch. Not fun to watch on TV. Not fun to watch in person. The stadiums don't do anything to make it interesting in person anymore.
Savannah Bananas do.
Correct. Our minor league teams do. Minor league teams make it a lot of fun. But professional baseball just sits there and say, here's a terrible product that's been here for over 100 years. It's like going to Antiques Roadshow with something that's old, so you think it's worth money.
Okay, what's your point?
My point is I saw a stat when we were talking about Hall of Fame on Greg Maddux. Did you see this statistic? I sent it to you.
It doesn't mean I saw it.
That's true. Greg Maddux, from 97 to 2003, so the last of his 4 Cy Youngs in a row, to 2003, threw 8,006 balls.
How many strikeouts?
Hold on. 8,006 balls in total.
Okay.
That's including intentional walks, by the way, to 8,023 batters. He threw less balls than he faced batters. Do you know how fast Greg Maddox's fastball was?
85 miles an hour.
85 miles per hour is where it topped.
And here's the thing about Greg Maddux. The greatest pitcher of his generation, not even close, hands down.
It's not even close.
Because he was a pitcher. And I saw something, I did see what you sent me, but there was also something on there going, I read an article and they said, well, Greg Maddux was a beneficiary of a very liberal strike zone. No, he wasn't. He hit the black, and did he get an occasional strike that was just outside? Yes, but that was because he was so good at hitting the black that they just assumed it was a strike.
Well, here's the other thing, too, where he was great. He had an 85 mile per hour fastball, but he had a 69 mile per hour changeup that moved a lot.
That nobody could touch.
And when you see a 69 mile per hour changeup consistently, and then all of a sudden you see an 85 mile per hour fastball, that fastball looks like 100 miles per hour. It's a big difference.
Probably the second best 12-6 curveball in the history of the game.
Probably, and not even probably, the best changeup I have ever seen in my entire life, and I think that baseball has ever seen.
I think so, too.
He was an unbelievable pitcher, and that's another issue that we have in baseball today. Greg Maddux had a very, very long career. Why? Because he pitched, he didn't throw.
Correct.
And right now, and I've even sent you videos of these TikToks and YouTube short people saying, I want to see you hit 100 miles per hour. I don't want to see anybody hit 100 miles per hour. I really don't. You don't need to hit 100 miles per hour.
Because batters can catch up to it. If you're a good hitter, 100-mile-an-hour fastball coming straight goes out at 195 miles an hour.
Look what's happening with our Chapman in New York. I completely butchered his first name. I apologize. He was great when he could throw 106. He's slowing down now. And guess what his fastball doesn't do?
It doesn't move anymore.
At all. It never moved to begin with. It was a
flat.
straight line pitch because you can't throw a 106 mile per hour fastball that moves. You just can't. So it's a straight line pitch. It's slowing down. His career's going to be over very, very soon. All these people want these kids that can throw 100 miles per hour. I don't want to see anybody throw 100 miles per hour. I want to see a pitcher that can go 9 innings and paint the black. I want to see them go 9 innings and fool pitchers.
I do too, and that's what we need to get back to is pitchers, not throwers. I saw something, speaking of pitchers, I can't remember. He's an astrophysicist that said Pluto wasn't a planet anymore. So
he's a devil.
He's not my favorite person. But he was talking about baseball.
Right.
And how it's not 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It only is at the point of the release, but by the time it gets to home plate, it's only a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm like, it's a millisecond. It doesn't slow down that much. That's like saying you can't make a ball.
He's probably the same person that said a curveball didn't exist until they played the curveball.
Exactly. The people that came out there and said, you cannot throw, the human body will not be able to make a ball that size and that weight curve until you watch Greg Maddux.
You definitely can.
Right. It's just stupid.
You definitely can. I'm done with my baseball rant, but again, the whole point of this is I think a lot of people that watch this agree with me, and I think most of America agrees with me, is that baseball has gotten into this idea where we're America's pastime. Baseball was great, so you should still love it for what it is. And the fact of the matter is not exciting anymore. You have so many changes you need to make. And what the stars of baseball when you were a kid, the absolute stars that you went to ballparks to see, what position did they play?
Catcher. Well, actually, you know me. I liked all positions.
I know.
Catcher. You built your team. Catcher.
What
pitcher.
did you look at to see who was playing that day? You wanted to see who the pitcher was.
Well, of course. You always
wanted to know if Randy Johnson was pitching, I was really excited to go to that game. If Greg Maddux was pitching, I was really excited to go to that game. Kerry Wood, any of these other guys. I remember the most excited I was going to a game was Kerry Wood and Randy Johnson on the mound.
One of the greatest matchups you could ever see.
They were the stars of baseball. Always. Always. It was must-see TV when pitchers were on the mound. And you've lost that. You took your biggest stars and said, we don't need these guys anymore. And you wonder why your product sucks.
See, for me, it was the only stars were the catchers.
Yeah, you're a weirdo. There's a weirdo in every sport. Some people watch football just to watch the centers. It doesn't mean that they're the stars of the game. You are the guy that watches the center in football and thinks that's the most exciting thing in the world.
I never thought that. But the catchers are the position.
Is the center of football.
No, the catchers are the ones running the entire game.
Center.
No.
Yeah.
They're the ones setting up the strategy. They're the ones making the moves out there. They're the ones looking at those pitchers that you love so much and telling them, stop thinking because you're a moron. Throw what I tell you to.
So you've just explained a center in football. Congratulations.
No, I explained the quarterback in football.
No.
Yes.
You explained the center.
I explained
congratulations.
the quarterback.
You explained the center. It's okay. Some people like
the
watching
quarterback. He
the different
runs
positions.
Everything.
You're the weirdo. I get it.
Oh,
pitchers were the star.
Catchers need to know every hitter that comes up because they need to know.
You're the unsung hero.
Here's my big problem with catchers.
The unsung hero.
The managers with their little computers are trying to tell a catcher who's watching the game and seeing who's coming up, telling them how to call the game.
Baseball's broken.
The catcher needs to look over that and give them the one finger salute. And tell the manager to do what he does best and sit his ass down and chew some more.
I agree.
Sunflower seeds.
I agree.
Especially if it's Craig Counsell who puts in a new pitcher every freaking inning, which is why we've had the problem we do now.
Bring baseball back and change the rules so you can bring baseball back. We're on the same page. You need to change the idea, and the first things first, besides the rules we've talked about on the show several times, is you need to all of a sudden tell kids that it's about pitching, not throwing.
Yes.
I don't care if the guy can throw 102. I don't care if the guy can throw 85. If you can't throw strikes and you can't make that ball move and dance and you don't have pitches beside it that can do other things, then get the hell off my mound.
And here's the
I
problem.
don't want you there.
I don't want pitchers. I don't want throwers who come from college or high school that go right into the major leagues just because they can throw that hard. I want them to spend a couple years in the minor leagues and actually learn how to throw a pitch.
I want them to know from the time that they're young how to use a changeup, how to use a fastball, how to use a slider.
Okay.
I don't want them to learn a curveball until they get to the pros. Curveball shouldn't be a thing for kids. It hurts their arms.
16 years. 16 years
That's
old, you
fair.
can start teaching them.
That's
but
fair.
if you've got a kid who's
here's
a little
the thing
league player,
too, though. Why would you teach a little league player a curveball? Because I tell you what, they're going to really like how it moves because it's an easy pitch to throw.
you want to know why? Because parents are morons.
Well, that's true. We've
And
known
parents
that for a long
have to
time.
be, helicopter parents have to be there. Why is my little Johnny not playing and throwing the curveball I taught him to throw? Because you're an idiot.
Right.
And it's going to kill your
Well,
arm.
and here's the thing: if any parent can teach their kid a curveball, which they can, then it's really not that exciting of a pitch. There's really not a lot of skill. What I want to know is I want to see kids learn circle change. I want to see kids learn two-seam
slider.
versus a four-seam fastball. I want to see them learn a slider because once they get older, and if they're lucky enough to continue their careers into college and the Major League Baseball, all of a sudden they're going to have an advantage over everybody else. I don't need to see that you've taken these kids and said, well, you can't throw 100 miles per hour, so you can't be a pitcher. Bullshit. You 100% can. Greg Maddux threw 85 mile per hour fastball and was the greatest pitcher in the game from 1992 to 2003.
Classic case. You met him. There's a guy at a car repair place in our area.
Yeah.
He was a pitcher that could throw 92, 93. He was a right-hander. If you're a left-hander, that would have worked, but he was a right-hander. Could throw that. And unbeknownst to me, I was talking to his dad one day, and he started telling me about this. I said, did he learn a changeup? Does he have a slider? He goes, he's working on them.
Right.
I said, then he's got $1 million arm and a 10-cent head. And that's when I found out it was his father. And he goes, you know what? You're right. It was one of those weird moments, and the guy was really nice about it.
But hey, you probably told him something he didn't already know. Like, coaches are not teaching kids how to pitch anymore.
Right.
They're just like, you can throw really fast, just keep throwing that.
If you
And
can
it's
throw,
not about aiming. It's not about, hey, where can you put this? It's about just get it over the plate because it doesn't matter here. And you ruin kids going forward. I hate it.
he was told if he can't throw 95-mile-an-hour fastball, he's not going to qualify. And
Right.
that's wrong.
That's a problem.
Okay.
Done with baseball.
We're done
now.
with baseball.
I've had my spiel. The playoffs did happen.
I miss baseball.
But before we do that, if you agree that baseball should be more exciting, if you agree with me on we should see pitchers instead of throwers, if you agree with me on any of this, leave me a comment below, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. I want baseball back. I want to love that sport again. I want to bring my kids to that sport again, but I can't right now because baseball right now sucks and it makes me angry.
Well, kids will never get into it because they start playoff games at 9 o'clock on a weeknight.
Right. It's a terrible game right now with a terrible setup, and it needs a lot of work. One game that's
No, it
not a
doesn't.
terrible game and that needs to stay the way that it is and become better is the NFL. The playoffs happened this past weekend.
Great game.
A lot of great games. Dallas should have won that game.
No.
Dallas should have won
No.
that game.
But they didn't.
They had plenty of chances to beat San Francisco. They were turnover machines. All of a sudden, Dak showed up to beat Dak again. You can't blame Mike McCarthy on that one. His quarterback let him down.
He did. He did. And that's the problem.
And Pollard getting hurt
that killed him.
killed that team. Ezekiel Elliott said, hey, you're going to earn that contract tonight because we need you to officially step up. And he didn't. And it breaks my heart because he is a former Ohio State player, but he did not help his team in any single way.
How do you think Mahomes changed into a different game? Mahomes ended up with a high ankle sprain.
He did.
It was a nasty look.
It hurt.
I loved what
It hurt me watching.
Andy Reid did
Forced him.
because he looked at him and said, if you're going to get on this field again, you will go to the locker room and get it checked.
Yeah. And I love Mahomes fighting to get back on the field.
I loved for him going, no, I'm going back in. And Andy finally just looked at him and went, no, you're not.
Right. You
And-
go get an MRI, and then we'll talk about putting you back on the field.
And look at what the Who is it? Chad Henning, the backup.
Chad Henne.
Took him right down the field, got a touchdown, really put the game away.
I mean, the Jaguars should have won that game too. They had their opportunities and a lot of mistakes. That's different though. That's a young team.
That's a young quarterback.
That's a young quarterback who had a good second half again, which is when you want your quarterback to show up. But that was a very, very young team that learned a lot of lessons. And as Trevor Lawrence said, they will be back there again next year.
He is the real deal.
He 100% is. Dak is not. He had the same opportunity to put a team on his shoulders that should have won that game. The defense made Purdy look like a rookie. The defense did exactly what they needed to do, and the offense sputtered.
Okay, I'll give Dallas credit for doing that, but at the same time, I think going in with the conservative game plan that San Francisco did was a huge mistake.
It was, and they won't do it again.
They can't. This is their season on the line.
But at the same point, I honestly think that Dallas's defense forced San Francisco to go conservative. There was nothing there. They were covering every receiver. They were stacking the line and getting to Purdy every single time. They were getting nothing on the run game. They couldn't get McCaffrey going. That was Dan Quinn showing defensive scheme brilliance. He came in with a plan and shut them down. And the offense let him down.
It makes me so sad. He should have been in Green Bay.
He should be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers going forward, in my opinion. We'll get to that. Kent, here's my question to you.
Sure.
You've said a lot on this show. Dallas is going to go after Sean Payton. Mike McCarthy didn't stand a chance, even if he won a Super Bowl. I was excited in the Tampa Bay game and in this past game as well, because I saw the Mike McCarthy we used to see in Green Bay. Yep. Prior to 2015, that look in his eye of a coach, the look in his eye of a champion, the look in his eye of, I'm in control here, and we're going to do things right.
McCarthy's a great coach.
He is. He held people accountable. Dak Prescott let him down. He really did. Dak Prescott let him down because he had that team ready to play.
Dak Prescott, and you may disagree with me on this, he's not a top echelon quarterback. He's just not. He's a nice quarterback. He'll get you to the playoffs occasionally. He's not going to take you to the Super Bowl.
McCarthy got him to the playoffs twice in a row. Mike McCarthy got him to the playoffs twice in a row.
I think, honestly, if I'm Dallas, I'm trying to find a different quarterback.
I think it's getting ready to move on from him. You have two bad contracts in Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott that you need to get off the books. Jerry Jones obviously had qualms about signing that contract with Dak Prescott to begin with. And I said from the beginning, I think Dak's going to end up in Seattle, and I still think that's going to happen. My question to you, though, in this situation, if you're Jerry Jones, you have the coach that brought you to the playoffs back-to-back years for the first time since Jimmy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You have a coach that looked like a champion, that really looked really good, and the turnovers really lost them that game. I know you're saying Sean Payton, if you get the opportunity.
I think,
can you turn your back on Mike McCarthy? He's done more than you asked him to do. He didn't take you to Super Bowl.
It's Jerry Jones. If he could get Sean Payton, and I don't think Payton would take the job. I just don't. I think he'd look at Jerry and go, you've got a coach right there.
I don't think Sean Payton can do anything better. I'm starting to think Dak's the problem.
I think that's been proven.
I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He's a top 15 quarterback in the league, maybe even top 10.
No.
On the later half of the top 10.
Yeah, very bottom
maybe
of the top
10.
No.
But he's a starter in the league. You can't deny that.
Okay, let me ask you this. We're Packer fans.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers on that Dallas Cowboy team.
They're in the NFC Championship right now.
Exactly. You put Joe Burrow on that team.
They're in the Super Bowl.
You put Josh Allen on that team.
I don't.
Yes, you do. You put Tom Brady on that team this year.
Tom Brady regressed a lot this year. He did. I don't know. Let me put it this way. They're in a better position than they were.
You put Patrick Mahomes on that team.
Oh, they're a Super Bowl team. With that defense, that's the problem, though. You have a defense that shut down the number one offense in the league. And granted, you were going up against the actual number one defense in the league with San Francisco. But, even your kicker started making kicks all of a sudden, and you can't get in the end zone.
By the way, I respect the hell out of Mike McCarthy for sticking with his kicker. Jones brought in somebody else, and McCarthy told him to whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sticking with my kicker. He's been
McCarthy's a very loyal coach.
He did that with Mason Crosby in 2012.
It paid off.
Who had the worst year you could possibly have as a kicker, and he's turned out to be, in my mind, a Hall of Fame kicker.
Yeah, he's like number 11 on the all-time scoring list at this point.
And he'll be back next year, by the way.
He could.
I think he comes.
He could. I mean, he can't kick above 50 yards anymore, but he's still pretty accurate inside 50.
He works out his leg, he will.
I mean, the dude's 39 years old.
Yeah. George Blanda was 48.
Yeah, different game. George Blanda also couldn't kick a 50-yard field goal, nor were field goal kickers expected to kick 50-yard field goals at that time.
Tom Dempsey did.
Tom Dempsey cheated.
He did not cheat. Oh, really?
He had a metal club.
He had half
Those
a
were
foot.
steel-toed boots.
Yeah, that's what everybody wore. Yeah. I had the same thing.
He had a metal club.
And he had half a foot, which I think more than makes up the difference.
Which helped him.
No.
That thing was a club. You might as well have punched the ball. I mean, it was a club.
And it worked.
It did.
63 yards. He was a great
Not
kicker.
taking anything away from him.
Yes, you are.
I'm just saying, it was an unfair advantage at that time. No straight-on kicker that had a pointed toe is going to make a 63-yard field goal.
Sure. Well, back then, you could count the number of pure kickers probably on one hand.
Right.
Because they were all, I mean, Jerry Kramer was a kicker in Green Bay.
Right. So was Paul
Horning. So this week's games, you've got San Francisco versus Philadelphia.
Never answered my question before you move on.
Okay, what? It's squirrel.
Is Mike McCarthy back next year?
Yes, I think he is. I don't think Sean Payton would take the job. Could be wrong, but I don't think he takes it.
I'm starting to question if Sean Payton's going to coach next year.
I think he's playing the market to see if somebody will give him $20 million.
Yeah.
That's his number, and if they aren't going to pay it, he won't coach. He's got a great life right now.
Right.
He gets paid a fortune by Fox.
My question is if you're like you're Jerry Jones, you stuck with Jason Garrett for how long?
And you've got a Super Bowl winning coach.
A Super Bowl winning coach who just took you to back-to-back playoff appearances, which is something Jason Garrett never did, something Bill Parcells never did, something none of your other coaches besides Jimmy Johnson ever did. I don't know how you can move on with him after 2 years of back-to-back playoffs.
Look, if I had the chance to bring McCarthy back to Green Bay, give me McCarthy.
Now, after seeing that look in his eye of looking like a champion again, not looking like a lost puppy like your coach in Wisconsin did this year.
Which one, LaFleur or Paul Chryst?
Paul Chryst.
It's the same thing.
I mean, either way, it's a deer in the headlights look and not knowing they should punt.
I played back that video of when
I stopped watching it. It just makes me sad.
No, I watched the one when Crosby went in to kick the field goal. He didn't even know he was going in to kick a field goal.
Well, LaFleur had no idea.
I guess we're going to kick a field goal. If you're letting your team make the decision, you're not a head coach.
No, he has no control over that team at all. But we're going to talk Packers later.
Yes.
Your question now.
My question. San Francisco, Philadelphia.
It's going to be a hell of a game.
That's not what I asked.
I know, but that is going to be a great game.
I'll give you a stat. 5 rookie quarterbacks now have led their team to the NFC Championship. None have won, Purdy being the one that's undecided yet.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure for a rookie, although I think Purdy's just playing. He knows he's playing with
house money. He's Mr. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter if he wins or not. People still think of him as a god. Jalen Hurts definitely has more pressure in this game. And I think Jalen Hurts is the X factor. And not because of any other reason, then he's still fighting an injury, and a leg injury, which he's known for his legs. Now, Jalen Hurts is a very good passer.
Yeah.
He's the best dual threat quarterback we've seen since Michael Vick. And possibly Robert Griffin III. He just never got a chance to really prove it because he got hurt his rookie year and really ended his career.
Who are you going to take?
It depends on Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts can move and Jalen Hurts can run, and that's going to open up the throwing lanes, then Philadelphia wins. If that can't happen, San Francisco is going to win. My money's on Jalen Hurts coming up. He is a champion. He's been in big games like this before in Alabama. He's gotten benched in a championship game in Alabama. you want to talk about a guy who and then came back to that same team. You want to talk about a resilient guy that I always cheer for because of his personality and his championship demeanor. It's Jalen Hurts. I'm picking the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl.
And I'm going with San Francisco just because I don't want to see the story end yet. Philadelphia's got a great team, and I love Jalen Hurts. So if he goes, I'm not going to be upset. But I'm hoping San Francisco pulls it out. They've been there how many years in a row now?
They've been there 4? 2 out of the last 3.
2 out of the last 3. Okay.
San Francisco's been there 2 of the last 3.
So
God bless John Lynch.
Yes.
Whoever thought he was going to be that good of a GM?
I don't know.
Wow.
I wish Green Bay would have hired him. The second game is going to be your Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow.
Walks on water.
Thank you. And against Kansas City with a very hobbled, no matter what happens, Mahomes is not going to be 100% until the offseason.
He may not be 100% when he comes back. The way that high ankle sprain is, I mean, I've had one of those in playing tennis back in the day, and it wasn't as severe as that, I guarantee.
It's 8 weeks.
It took me a good 6 weeks to get back on the court. Not only did it take me a good 6 weeks to get back on the court and feel like I could play, well, now we had to play the mental game of, am I able to do everything on this leg again? Now, I don't think Patrick Mahomes has a much better, how do I put this, competitive edge than I did in high school for sure. He's not going to let that bother him. He's going to do whatever he wants.
They're going to give him Toradol. They'll shoot it up. He's going to be wrapped. He's not going to be as mobile as he usually is. But
he's not. Which, by the way, may be going away in the NFL, but that's a story for another show. They're talking about getting rid of Toradol, which will be an interesting
Why?
thing.
We'll talk about it, I guess, but I hadn't heard that.
They have proven that Toradol can be just as addictive as any other painkiller.
It's not a narcotic.
But the thing is, it also has to be an injection.
Yeah.
And so you can't get it unless you're a doctor, but I guess there's some other things out there. We'll save it for another show, but they are talking about getting rid of Toradol in the NFL, which is an interesting conversation.
So who do you go with?
Oh, Bengals. Joe Burrow, football Jesus, man walks on water. You've seen Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow is Joe Cool. He walks on water and always will for me. It's Joe Burrow all day long.
He can't be Joe Cool. Joe Cool's a camel that smokes cigarettes.
Well, it was also the name of Joe Montana, and Joe Burrow's better than Joe Montana. So you're right. He's Joe Cooler.
No, he is not better than Joe Montana. Until he wins 4, no, he's not.
Well, give him Jerry Rice.
Okay.
And Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott will cut his
Roger
finger off
Craig.
for you. Yeah, he had a good team around him. Montana was there. Don't forget Dwight Clark. He had quite the team.
Joe Burrow's playing with plus a Hall of Fame offensive line. Joe Burrow's playing with an offensive line that couldn't protect a cat from a rainstorm. I think the Bengals. I'm taking the Bengals as well. Even though it's a repeat of last year's championship game, I think the same result's going to happen. Patrick Mahomes being hurt changed the dynamic of this game.
I think so.
Patrick Mahomes being hurt completely changed the dynamic of this game. And that's why I say it's going to be, because now that Cincinnati defense, as long as Eli Apple doesn't screw up again, because he's been talking a lot of smack, and let's not forget Eli Apple gave up that game-winning touchdown last year in the Super Bowl. As long as he doesn't mess up, and as long as that Bengals defense continues to play like they did last week.
This isn't Kansas City, though.
This isn't Kansas City. It's the loudest stadium. It's the loudest stadium in the NFL. Still holds the record for the highest decibel in any stadium in the world. It's going to be loud. It's going to be cold. Snowstorms are coming through Kansas City this week.
2 cold weather teams.
I know. Cincinnati's used to playing in it. But Patrick Mahomes not being able to be as mobile as he likes to be is going to hurt that Kansas City team. They'll score. It'll be a high-scoring game. Each team will score in the 30s.
If Cincinnati underestimates the Chiefs because of Mahomes, then they lose. But
They definitely will not. Joe Burrow's going to carry him on his shoulders back to another Super Bowl, and that is my Super Bowl pick.
Okay,
I think Joe Burrow's going to take him all the way.
If he gets the Super Bowl, I think he beats either team.
Both AFC teams are better than both NFC teams. So I think either AFC team that gets in there, either the Chiefs or the Bengals, are going to be the Super Bowl champion.
So speaking of Super Bowl champion quarterbacks that we have watched for many, many years. Did you watch McAfee yesterday or listen to it?
I listened to the Rodgers interview. Yeah, for sure. Of course I did.
So,
I mean, you've been bringing up the Packers the entire time we've been talking about football, so I knew you wanted to get to this conversation.
Oh, I do it one show. You usually do it every
This isn't
show.
about me. This isn't about me.
That's a first, too.
It's true.
Anyways.
I felt bad even saying that.
I know. So Rodgers came out and acknowledged that whether he stays or whether he goes, he's going to have to restructure his
It's what we've been saying for a year.
Yeah, we've been ahead of that curve more than anybody else. But what was most interesting was the fact that it came out that, well, he's only going to be traded to an AFC team.
They did the same thing with Favre.
They did.
I don't agree with it, but you let him go where he wants. If you want to move on, you think the quarterback you have on the bench is better, then why wouldn't you let your quarterback go wherever you want?
Why he'll be back. And here's my thing about it. They can't let him go to another team. They can't let him go to Miami or the Jets.
Sure they could.
They could, but they won't, because if they let him go and he succeeds and gets another ring, guess what? That's a mirror saying, look, Goody, you had the quarterback that could take you there. You just effed up the roster.
Here's the issue. Here's why he's not going anywhere. And I truly believe, I love Aaron Rodgers. I want him in Green Bay.
I do too.
I want him to do well. I do. But listening to him, Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to leave Green Bay because he's afraid of the expectations that are going to be put on him when he leaves. Right now, he can blame the organization for failures. He can say, I was a 2-time MVP of COVID. He can say, I won a Super Bowl here in Green Bay. I've been successful and at the top in this town.
Yeah, what else?
And they can blame, hold on, let me finish. And he can blame the organization for not giving him the weapons because they haven't treated him fairly. They haven't.
No, they haven't.
But if all of a sudden you go to the Jets, you go to Miami, you go to Minnesota, you go to wherever he ends up, San Francisco, all of a sudden, it's all on Rodgers, and Rodgers has to succeed. And I don't think Rodgers can handle that. I don't think he can handle it. I don't think he wants that pressure. I think he likes his cozy life in Green Bay because he does love Green Bay. There's no doubt about it. Well, I think he likes the idea of retiring a Packer because, like you said several times, Martin Starr did.
Yep.
But also the expectations of Aaron Rodgers aren't that high in Green Bay. They're not. He can blame the organization for the failures the Packers have had.
The organization
can't do that anywhere else.
The organization's expectations aren't that high.
Well, I tell you what, Mike Murphy, the president, and Gutekunst like being, especially Mike Murphy, who's more of a CFO than a CEO because he only cares about the money side of things. He loves being 8-8. He loves being middle of the pack because you sell more tickets. But I'll tell you what, the Packers fans are turning on you, seeing how many Lions fans were at that game in Lambeau on a playoff game.
Right.
You let a quarter of that stadium be in blue. Lions fans, because Packers fans sold their tickets. That's not acceptable.
No, it's not.
The Packers have all their tickets sold and owned by season ticket holders, which means fans from other teams cannot just come into the game. They have to buy the tickets from Packer fans, which means a quarter of your stadium sold their tickets
back when they were
Lions fans.
Back when they were 4-8.
Even since then, people were selling their tickets to this game because I know people that have season tickets. They were selling them for upwards of $800 per ticket, and they were happy to take the money, saying, "I don't want to be at this game."
I would have wanted to be in the cold of that game.
Most Packer fans want to be in the cold of that game. You're 70 billion years old. Of course, you don't like the cold. Most Packer fans are going to be at that game, and the fact that Packer fans really didn't care. Are you telling me in the 90s, when the Packers hadn't been in the playoffs in a long time, that people were selling their tickets to playoff games?
No, they were all there, and your point is well taken. The fan base, especially this year,
they're tired of being mediocre.
They saw the fact that you went and got 2 rookie wide receivers. You didn't do anything to improve that. You brought in Sammy Watkins, who never showed up in Green Bay anyways. You made no real effort to get a top-line wide receiver for Rodgers to throw to.
Well, we offered Devontae Adams $30 million. Well, you should have offered it the year before.
Exactly, and he would have been there. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mike Murphy, you need to be bold and you need to fire Gutekunst, and you definitely need to fire LaFleur because
here's the
he's not
thing.
a head coach.
Gutekunst won't get fired because he just had his best draft ever. He got 5 starters.
How long did it take to get? How long did it take?
Too long.
Thank you.
Way too long. Matt LaFleur 100% needs to be fired. He needs to be long gone. You need to be on the phone with Dan Quinn saying you need to come in and fix our team. Dan Quinn then needs to bring in Frank Reich to run that offense, to hold somebody accountable. What was the issue? Why did McCarthy get fired? Because there was no accountability. People were late to flights and McCarthy let it fly. He lost his competitive edge in Green Bay. That it happened. The message had passed.
Right.
It was time to move on. LaFleur doesn't even know if he should punt or not.
And he's going
LaFleur has cost us 4 playoff games 4 years in a row.
And he is going to bring in his brother or Nathaniel Hackett to be his offensive quarterback.
Both who were just fired.
Yes, and he's doing it because he wants his buddies around. That's why if you don't have the balls to step up and fire Joe Barry after the year he had this year when his own team, his own players are calling him out for the defense he's calling, then time to go.
Time to go.
Time to make a move. And I would personally,
I would have fired him on the spot. As soon as he said Joe Barry was coming back, hey, Matt.
Yeah, we're making a change.
Thank you for your services to the Green Bay Packers.
And I would.
Good luck in your future endeavors.
And I wouldn't worry about the general manager if you could get it. I think Sean Payton would look at Green Bay as a real challenge.
Yeah.
You'd have to pay him a lot.
Packers have more money than the Catholic Church.
Maybe not that much, but they're in the neighborhood.
In the NFL.
Yes.
They are the Catholic Church.
The Church of the NFL. Yes.
We have our own Pope, don't forget.
Yes, we do. I love seeing him at the games. However, I'm not looking forward to next season. There's nothing that's happened that's made me go, I can't wait.
There's no excitement in Green Bay.
None.
There's no excitement in Packer fans. It's just another, if Rodgers comes back, people are bashing Rodgers for taking time to make a decision. The Super Bowl's not even over. Why in the world do we need to know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back or not? Take your time and make the decision before March 15th, when the Ides of March, my favorite time of year, when free agency started. That's not why it's my favorite time of year. It's because I'm a Shakespeare fan. But you have until the Ides of March to make that decision, and make no mistake, beware the Ides of March. But once you need to have plan A, plan B. Like, if you're going to run with Rodgers, then you need to have your free agency plan for Rodgers. If you're going to have, and by the way, if you are going to have a plan for Aaron Rodgers in free agency, and you decide to move on with Jordan Love, that better be the same damn plan you have for Jordan Love in free agency. Because if you're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers, you better believe Jordan Love is better and ready to go.
That's what it comes down to, and I'm not willing.
Jordan Love is the next Hall of Fame quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. I believe that.
You're an idiot. I'm not ready to move on from Rodgers yet. He's still every bit as talented.
Right.
I think he, as always, when Rodgers sees things are going south, he checks out. Yes. And he checked out this year because he had no weapons. He knew he could only go so far. I respected what he did in the second half. I think you're going to have to move on from Aaron Jones just because he's over 30.
No.
He's over 30.
He's still in contract.
I think his contract has to be renegotiated. I think he's
so renegotiate it. Cash over cap. Go for it. Who cares? The cap isn't real. It's been proven at this point.
That's true. But I think you've got to start looking at moving on from Jones.
No.
You do.
No.
Yes.
Skill players you don't move on from.
Really? What about when they fumble the way he did? I love Aaron Jones. Okay,
who do you want to replace Aaron Jones with? Who?
Draft somebody. Draft a kid who's got similar talent.
Who's going to take a couple years to get better? Are you going to go for a Super Bowl or are you not? Because if you're going to go for a Super Bowl, you keep Aaron Jones, you make A.J. Dillon a fullback, and you go back in time.
If you do that, I'm all in. If you make
Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league, especially when it comes to dual threat in the passing game as well. You do not get rid of Aaron Jones. You don't. You bring back Jordy Nelson. Did you hear that part of the show?
I don't even want to.
It's pretty funny. I like it.
Jordy Nelson has been riding a tractor for a few years. I don't think
he's the greatest farmers of all time.
He is that.
You can't get rid of Aaron Jones in Green Bay. You just can't. You people said the same thing about Devontae Adams, and then he put up 1,500 yards with terrible quarterback play. I mean, he looked like Larry Fitzgerald out there. Like
Devontae Adams is as good as Larry Fitzgerald.
He is. Imagine him. I've said from the word go, Larry Fitzgerald, if he plays with the same type of quarterbacks Jerry Rice does, Jerry Rice who will be the answer at that point.
If Larry Fitzgerald plays in Green Bay.
Larry Fitzgerald's the greatest receiver to ever play the game. The only reason he didn't break the records is because he was forced to play with terrible quarterbacks.
That's true.
Jerry Rice had the benefit of 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I want to see the numbers Jerry Rice puts up with the quarterbacks Larry Fitzgerald had to play and vice versa, because I guarantee Larry Fitzgerald would beat every single record Jerry Rice had by several numbers if he had the same quarterback play that Jerry Rice did.
Interesting. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not
wrong.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
It's 100% accurate. Larry Fitzgerald is a better receiver than Jerry Rice ever was.
I think Green Bay should bring in T.O.
I'm in. Why not? I'm game on anything.
Looking for anybody. Well, OBJ
Christian Watson's going to be a star
at some point.
He's starting to turn into one.
He's got another 2 years. So,
what did you say about OBJ?
He wasn't even considering Green Bay by the end because he's just not going to come to a team like that.
also is still very, very hurt, which is why he didn't get picked up by a team.
Very true. All right. So we have our football picks. We've had our football discussion. I need to change this topic real quick because we live in a rural state.
Sure.
There's a guy, former NFL player.
Hold on, I thought this was your last word.
No, I got a different last word. Uh-oh. Much better last word.
Well, here's the thing.
So
before you go into crazy things, hold on. Before you go into crazy things, let us know what you think on Aaron Rodgers being afraid to leave the Green Bay Packers because he's afraid of the expectations and that he'll fail those expectations. You let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it on to Crazy Town.
This isn't Crazy Town. It's only Crazy Town for people on the left coast and the right coast who have never been out of a city before. Derek Wolfe, love the name by the way, former NFL player, gets called by a friend of his who's a hunter and is notified that there's a mountain lion in the neighborhoods, killed 15 dogs over 30 days.
A big mountain lion.
A massive mountain lion.
Whose paws are 3 times the size of my head.
I don't know about that, but it was big. So this mountain lion had pulled a mule deer it had killed up on somebody's porch.
Yeah.
It was living under said porch.
Yep.
Derek Wolfe tracks this thing with a bow and arrow, by the way, because that's how they have to be killed, up to 9,600 feet. You know what it's like in altitude in Colorado.
I'm not breathing just thinking about it.
Exactly. He went up there, he shot it, he killed it. God bless him. It was a male, and male mountain lions, for those of you who don't know, will go back and kill their own kittens because it wants to bring the female back into heat again.
Right, because they want to have their own babies, whole alpha male thing.
All
Colorado has been having a problem with an overpopulation of male mountain lions for a while. And that's why they're allowed to be hunted all year round.
And that's why they're coming down.
No females, just the males.
Yes, but they're coming down into population centers now because
there's too many of them, lack of food, all that stuff.
Yes. So he killed them. People were giving him no end of grief for killing this poor baby mountain lion. It's so cute and it's an animal and has a right to live. Bullshit.
That's not a cute animal. I mean, it is.
Yeah, but when they're drawn like Nala.
Yeah, I mean, even that, it looks cool. It's beautiful.
It was
I wouldn't say it's cute. That's a beautiful creature, but it's a dangerous creature. And if a creature like that is comfortable coming into human society,
it's got to be taken out.
You have to take it out.
You can't put him back far enough in the woods because it will come back down.
It will. It's already proven that it understands where it is. It understands what's around there, and it understands that it's comfortable where it is.
Well, it would take out golden retrievers, whatever dogs that are out there.
That's the other thing, too. It had taken out a lot of pets.
I think it was like 15 in 30 days.
Yeah, it had taken out a lot of pets.
Cats, dogs, whatever, it was gone, and it was a snack. And he thought, that cat thought nothing of killing it and killed a mule deer.
Well, and from the way I heard it as well, is that not only did he shoot it with the bow and arrow, that big old cat turned around.
Yeah, he was scratched up. He
went after.
He was scratched up.
Mr. Wolf.
Yeah. The mountain lion is dead. People who live in the cities, and I know there's some that are watching this.
Oh, this is the reason for this conversation.
Yeah.
Got it.
If you live in a rural area, like in Wisconsin, we have very large deer that get up to 200-300 pounds. They have to be, that herd has to be reduced. In Colorado, the mountain lion population has to be reduced because if it doesn't, they're going to either, in the case of deer, they're going to starve to death,
right,
or they're going to hit your car. In the case, which is going to destroy your car and probably kill you.
Yeah.
And if you're in Colorado, it's going to attack a kid. That mountain lion would, one fell swoop would have killed a kid.
Oh, for sure.
And so
it was only a matter of time.
It was, because this thing was massive.
I mean, that thing probably wouldn't even went after a kid. It's not big enough for it to eat. It would have gone after a person, a full-grown,
and it would have taken him down.
Male.
But in any case, it was like 225 pounds when he was holding it up. And I don't know how tall Derek Wolfe is, but he was an NFL player, so I'm thinking 6'2".
Probably.
That lion was over the top of his head when he pulled it up on his haunches. It was just huge. And to Derek's credit, he's going to get the meat processed, and he's going to eat cat.
Yeah, sure.
And he's going to get the fur made into gloves or whatever he's going to do.
Yeah, you use all parts of the animal.
When you hunt, you eat what you hunt.
Correct.
And that's my only request. If you're going to hunt, don't just hunt like they did the buffalo and leave the carcass there. Wrong.
Right.
Hunting is good.
You use all the animal.
You use the animal, you feed your families, and you're helping the population of said animal because you're reducing the size of the herd.
Correct.
People who don't understand that need to just shut up or come and live in one of these places.
Well, any waste that is left behind, because obviously they make sure everything's taken out besides the meat. Other animals come and eat that.
Yes.
And it's a part of the circle of life. Yeah. I thought you were telling a cool story. I should have known you better.
That is a cool
you had
story.
A point to it to go after somebody.
I had a point to go after the snowflakes that live on the coast who don't understand what it's like to live.
You really want to talk about comparison, though. We, in Wisconsin at least, do have a coyote problem. That's a predator, and that is a predator that goes after pets a lot and has been known to try at least and attack younger humans, or kids, if you want to call them the correct thing. I don't know where I went with that. I don't know.
Your point?
Tiny people.
Homunculus.
So we hunt coyotes all year round. You actually get paid per pelt for the coyotes.
Because they hunt homunculus.
Because, they hunt everything. They're going to go to eat, and the packs are getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
Yeah, they'll eat whatever's out there. But I'm just saying predator to predator, because deers aren't predators. We also have to hunt coyotes here because
you do.
They don't go after the deer. The deer are too big for the coyotes. They're going after dogs and cats and people.
They've introduced wolf packs up in the northern Wisconsin to go after the deer for that reason.
They're starting to come back in. The farmers are not happy about it.
Well, what else are you going to do?
They'll take out a wolf if it goes after their cow.
Granted.
Problem with wolves, though, being introduced, especially in a place like Wisconsin where there are a lot of cows, wolf are opportunistic hunters.
Yes.
Deer are hard to catch. Moose, which are up in upper Wisconsin, small population of them, but they're up there.
Versus killing
hard
a cow.
To catch. Cows don't move.
Right.
Cows are very easy to take down. Cows are also a lot of meat. So they're going to eat those cows first, and that's the issue with wolves coming back into any.
You've got to control the herds or the pack. Keep them small. Keep them in northern Wisconsin. I don't begrudge a farmer if they see a wolf coming after on their farm.
Yeah,
you got to get rid of it.
You take it out, bury a hole, and nobody talks about it.
Speaking of which, animals that get very large.
Wolves are big creatures. They are big, big creatures. I did see that lion. That lion was huge. Good for him for taking it down with a bow of all things.
That's the point of the story.
I have no issues with hunting. Hunting goes a lot into. I think what a lot of people don't understand, especially in wider populations where they're in the cities. And I'm not a hunter. It's not because I wouldn't. It's just you didn't hunt. I didn't know anybody that hunted, so it never became a part of what I did.
My dad had stopped hunting by the time I came around. So
it was never a thing I grew up in. But most money in hunting goes to conservation. Like, these hunters love the deer. Like, they really do, and they don't just see them as hunting. Like, they're going to use every single piece of the meat, and any money the DNR gets from tags, or there's taxes on hunting weapons that go also to conservation. And these people, especially people that are serious about deer hunting, they buy acres and acres of land and plant food,
plant corn,
or that the deer eat: apples, alfalfa, corn, specifically for the deer to eat, for the population to grow. They aren't just going, you don't shoot babies.
No.
It is 100% illegal to shoot a doe that has a fawn around.
Right.
And a buck without antlers, you also don't hunt. You want those antlers to get bigger. So if they're new bucks, you're not going to shoot that, at least not on purpose. You're going to wait for it to grow older. So these are much older animals that are also being shot, and mothers are not killed, and baby deer aren't killed, and all of that goes to the population. They want to see this population grow. Otherwise, they can't hunt.
Well, they want it to be managed so that every year the herd increases and you thin it out, and it comes right back the next spring.
Correct. It's a cycle.
So now you can turn.
All right. Random way to end the show. We really appreciate it. I do have to say one thing. We are at 4,000 subscribers officially, and we are very close to our 100th video on this channel. Thank you guys so much. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for watching the Spin Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.